What if I could show you your financial future, not by predicting the lottery, not by picking the next hot stock, but by taking one ordinary American and planning every major financial decision from age 21 till retirement? So today, we're going to follow someone we call Alex. So I'm making up the person's name. It's going to be fictional. The name's Alex. So Alex could be a male, could be a female. It's a typical name of such individuals. And Alex wasn't born with money. Alex doesn't have rich parents, doesn't have rich grandparents, didn't get a huge inheritance. We're going to say that Alex simply graduated from college at the age of 21. And the reason I'm picking the age of 21 is because I graduated at the age of 21. Or it could be 22, either way. We'll say the age of 21 and lands a good paying job. So we're saying good paying job is one that pays $50,000 a year. And given this information, I asked AI to build Alex's financial life from the very first paycheck all the way to retirement. And I checked every assumption and made sure things were realistic. And yeah, there are errors here and there. And if you're financially minded, you could potentially pick up some of those errors, and definitely interested in the comments to see what errors you find. But given that, we're going to walk through Alex's life together. We're going to buy a house with Alex. We're going to watch Alex get married. We're going to watch Alex raise children. We're going to see how Alex pays for his children's college and how he helps paying for his children's wedding, or she helps paying for her children's wedding, and how they give their kids, once Alex gets married, that's what I'm saying, they give their kids a down payment on their first home. And finally, we're going to look at how Alex and his or her spouse could retire. The question is, can someone making just $50,000 actually build wealth? Let's dive in and find out. So before we begin, let's decide that Alex, he graduated from some form of college or some form of trade school. And it's really important to understand that he went down a path that would create an income of $50,000 a year. So I came up with 5 common careers in which an individual could start at 50 or even greater. And I had to start with mechanical engineering because, mechanical engineering, that's my degree path. So mechanical engineer, number 1, was one that came out of the assessment, and then accountant, then a registered nurse, and then an electrician at the journeyman level, and HVAC technician. All those careers are going to start you off at $50,000 or greater. So they're also very stable careers. They're in high demand. And keep in mind, the term stable sometimes is thrown around as something to look for in a career, and the only stability is really you and your skills, your knowledge and expertise you continue to sharpen over time. So continuing on, along those lines, each of those careers demand is strong, and over time, each of them offer opportunities for promotions, increased certification, job changes that will also steadily increase income. And for today's simulation, the specific career really doesn't matter, but it's really just understanding what could happen with making $50,000 a year and getting steady raises over a 40-year career. So let's start first at the age of 21. So Alex just graduated. He's making $50,000 a year. So that works out to $4,167 per month before taxes. And then after taxes and after his retirement deduction of that 10% going to his 401k and all of his home expenses, we're saying that he has $3,125 a month left. Now here's where many people make their first financial mistakes. They start thinking about, what can I buy with this money that I have now that I'm making money, instead of where am I going to decide to put every dollar to work? How am I going to spend on purpose every month? So let's look at an actual attempt to do so by making a monthly budget. So Alex decides that I'm going to make my budget, and my rent is going to be $1,000 a month, utilities $150 a month, internet and phone $100, food $400, transportation $300, insurance and healthcare $200, entertainment $150, and miscellaneous expenses $225. So monthly living expenses approximately $2,525. And one key point to keep in mind is Alex paid himself first. So before taxes, before anything else, he took that 10% and put it into his 401k. So that leaves Alex with $600 a month. And he uses that towards achieving his first goal. So this is very interesting because I allowed AI to pick his first goal. And the first goal that was picked wasn't buying a house. It wasn't investing in cryptocurrency. It wasn't, doing anything extremely exciting and cool and novel. It was really just looking at him fully funding an emergency fund of 6 months of take home. Not of take home, but 6 months of his monthly expenses. So based off of the monthly expenses that we talked about earlier of $2,525, AI recommended that he create an emergency fund of $15,150, which can be done in just over 2 years if you're putting away $600 a month. So Alex does that. He puts away his $600 a month and he achieves that goal. And why does this matter? And this is very important. There's something to be aware of. It's because, as the proverbial saying goes, life happens. What's life? What's life happening? It's potentially a car breaking down, a job loss, a medical emergency. So emergency funds are important. It helps prevent the unexpected from turning into financial ruin. So we talked about the 401k, and we're going to see exactly how that grows later on. But what I didn't mention is the assumption of a match. So we're assuming that Alex is not losing any of that free money. He's taking an employer match. He's getting an employer match of 5%. So that 10% that he's taking out prior to taxes of $5,000, which is approximately $417 a month, he's getting matched. And as a result, that total that's going towards his retirement annually is $7,500. And those who know me know I don't believe in retirement. I don't plan to ever retire. However, many of you do. So this is something to keep in mind and build that retirement account so you don't have to use it to store up for your kids and pass it on like I'm going to do, but you could use it for something to take care of yourself after, a certain age when you decide you want to stop working. So continuing on in Alex's life, as you see this progression, you notice that he's not trying to get rich quick. He's actually doing things step by step and methodically. So at the age of 25, 4 years later, he switched employers once and received several raises. So now he's making $62,000. So his pays went up. He decided to increase his emergency fund, and now his retirement savings has grown. It's roughly $60,000. And I will show you all this in chart format that you'll be able to see on the screen. So this is where most people underestimate compound interest. So Alex hasn't become wealthy because of extraordinary investments or some lucky stock pick. He's become wealthier just through slowly investing over time. So now at age 27, Alex finds himself, a pretty young lady if he's a man, and I guess a handsome man if Alex is a woman. So at this particular stage in life, Alex gets married. His spouse also earns what he started out at earning, because maybe his spouse is a little younger, maybe his spouse is the same age, maybe they're earning the same. But for assumptions, we're going to say that his spouse earns $50,000 a year. So they have a household income of $112,000. So their household income almost doubled. And now their take-home pay is approximately $6,900 a month. So this changes everything. So this increases their ability to purchase things that would be considered assets by some or necessary stores of equity by others. So this necessary store of equity that they're purchasing is going to be their first home for $250,000 with a down payment of $25,000, closing costs roughly $7,500, monthly mortgage $1,850. So now their new budget is paying that mortgage, paying utilities of approximately $300 a month, food $700, transportation $900, insurance $500, entertainment $300, and miscellaneous expenses $450, and total monthly expenses $5,000, and a monthly surplus now of $1,900. So this is the point where wealth creation really accelerates. Him getting married really causes things to take off because you're able to start putting extra amounts to investments and planning for future goals and also now building equity in a home. So now at age 32, this is a big financial fork in the road. And why, one may ask, is because Alex and Alex's spouse decide to have a kid. So they have their first child, and for the purpose of this simulation and we're discussing, this person, Alex, is going to have one kid, but Alex could have many kids. And then there's some decisions that need to be made. Do both parents continue working, or does one parent stay home? So we can look at both scenarios. If both parents continue working, daycare costs approximately $1,600 a month. So the household maintains a higher income but continues investing aggressively, but then they're paying that extra $1,600 a month for daycare. And college savings begin immediately. Once you have that kid, recommend opening the 529, and they decided that as a family, they're opening a 529 and putting $300 away a month. And they're investing it consistently and getting a 7% rate of return, which will result in $125,000 by time their child turns 18, or maybe we can call the child Alexis. Mine's just Alex. So the second option is one parent decides to stay home, household income decreases significantly, but the daycare cost disappears. And there's also other expenses that will go down, such as transportation, and some of the convenience spending will likely go down. And this makes it seem to slow progression of financial goals, but it really depends on your priority and what's going to work best for you. So personal finance isn't only about maximizing wealth, but it's also about your own family values and your well-being, your spouse's well-being, your family's well-being. But now let's fast forward. So things stabilize. Alex is now 40 years old, and compound interest is really starting to help. So his household or her household income climbs to $220,000. Somehow, the child is out of daycare, going to school, and now both incomes are coming in again, regardless of either scenario you look at. And, they decided they're now putting 20% towards retirement, and the home they purchased earlier is now worth $450,000. So that's pretty good. Over 13 years, the home value increased to $450,000, and now only $160,000 remains on the mortgage. So that means the family has built $290,000 in equity, and the retirement accounts are starting to swell, starting to look good. It's at $600,000, and this is still, compound interest. And now Alex and his family are building long-term wealth. And there are four, I'd say, main engines at work right now: career growth, retirement investing, home appreciation, compound interest. So things are really chugging along, and the discipline and the decades of following this plan and this path are really looking good for him, Alex and Alex's family. So now at age 50, the household income has reached $275,000. So they're really cooking with grease now. Retirement accounts have grown to between $1.8 and $1.4 million. And keep in mind, so all these numbers I'm providing, the assumption is an 8% annual rate of return. And there's a good chance you could potentially get more than that in your retirement account. I personally have been well over 10, 12% is the range I've found myself in annually, and then overall performance for the past 20 years. But now looking at the 529 plan, that's also starting to get very large, and the home equity now exceeds $600,000. And this wasn't some miracle or a lottery or inheritance. This is or some type of viral business idea. This is just being consistent year after year after year. So now at age 55, the child or children are now grown. The family begins using excess cash to help with life's various milestones, such as helping to pay for the child's wedding, maybe another wedding, and also helping to provide a down payment for the child's first house, whether it be a smaller home, $250,000, or $50,000 down payment for a larger home. These gifts are possible because of well-planned financial steps and not financing their lives with debt and having to be debtors that are paying back a bank for many years. So now, 62 years old, time for the big reveal. Time to understand what actually happened, with all that saving and how much money has been put away to support Alex and his family into their latter years. And this is, keep in mind, all from someone who only started out making $50,000 and had slowly career progressions and a little bit of inflation that got their household income much higher. So drum roll. Based off of the assumptions that we had throughout and starting off saving, 10% towards retirement, eventually upping it to 20% much later in life after additional cash flow is freed up. The actual retirement account value based off of the assumptions we built into this would be $2.3 million. So that's a lot of money, $2.3 million at 62. And a home value around $700,000. So that's taxable investments for approximately $300,000, which, when you start pulling out your 401k, you're gonna have to pay taxes on it. But no, that's a necessary evil. However, there is the Roth option and there's the Roth conversion option. So we'll just assume that this taxable portion is only his and her, their household taxable portion is only $300,000. So the total estimated net worth of Alex's household is $3.3 million. So Alex did this beginning with a modest income, eventually reaching six figures, and didn't do anything extraordinary, didn't win the lottery, and it wasn't luck. It was just a very simple plan. So here's what surprised me most about this experiment, looking at having AI create this, is it didn't recommend any type of secret investment or timing the stock market or even chasing the latest trends. It recommended a slow and steady, boring approach. Just slow and steady. And it resulted in starting with an emergency fund, capturing the employer match on a 401k, and then just investing in one's retirement account consistently, buying a home that they could afford, and avoiding unnecessary debt, and letting time itself do the heavy lift, and making these decisions from 21 all throughout their years. So whether you're a teacher, police officer, someone starting their own business, you could end up a millionaire, and just by simply following a plan. So if this added value, if this is something of interest to you, you could certainly take some images that I've shared throughout this particular discussion and use it to craft your own plan. You could message me in the comments on this video. I could help you create a plan, or find a financial advisor and get started with a financial advisor, or even use AI yourself just to start the initial planning process. So hopefully this helped. Please like the video, share it with someone else you believe will add value to, and subscribe to my channel for more content similar to this. Thanks for listening. God bless.